Incoming. Frank's grand escapade to Vegas hits a snag due to the cruel twist of time zones. With no other choice, he continued his journey and stumbled upon a familiar-looking homeless guy, the long-lost twin of David. Frank generously gave him some spare change, only to have the grateful guy crush his medication and talk about adding insult to injury. Dejected, he listened to his wife's voicemail for comfort. Luckily, a kind driver helped, and he arrived at the station. He pulled out what was left of his rapidly disintegrating meds, gulped it down, and passed out on the trainer clearly. This trip was taking a toll, and the kid seemed to be hiding stuff from him. In a trance-like state, he once again dreamt of his eldest son David, who remained the person he worried about the most in his heart. Until the following morning, his little daughter Rosie still hadn't received any news from him. He hurriedly called his siblings, but none had a clue where Frank was until he finally called Rosie. The family sigh of relief. Rosie rented a Lincoln to pick up Dad, eager to treat him at a rotating restaurant. She planned a jam-packed itinerary of fun, but Frank just wanted to check if the kids were living their best lives. No big fancy stuff necessary. Seeing his little girl still being her playful self filled Frank with joy, and he snapped a few adorable pics just for her. Out of nowhere, a neighbor dropped by with a baby he had never seen before, asking Rosie to babysit while she ran off to meet someone important. Although Frank missed out on the rotating dinner, this little one certainly brightened his day. Watching Dad play with the baby, Rosie beamed with joy, and as phone calls flooded in later that night, Frank inadvertently heard a voicemail. "Hey, it's me. I need to get home soon, sooner than I thought. Please call me back." Subtitles. Rosie rented the house. Frank chose to fly home early next morning to avoid troubling kids, as his meds were running lower. Watching Rosie eat her noodles, it was like a blast from the past. Remember how Mum taught you to eat mint? Classic. Though Mum had been gone for 8 months, Rosie still occasionally dialed the Mum hotline only to realize afterward that Mum was no longer on the other end. Frank hoped Rosie could keep dialing that number, so he could answer. Why did the kids always prefer Mum's ear over his? Mum would never complain, but Frank had his opinions. Over time, the kids naturally grew closer to her since he seemed tougher on them. In that light, Frank couldn't help but reminisce about Mom's feelings. David carried the heaviest mental load, not wanting to let his dad down. When Rosie asked about Dad's plans back in the day, Frank had to sheepishly admit that in his youth he just wanted a job, a wife, and kids. After they arrived, he worked tirelessly, aiming to be the ideal dad in their eyes. Talking to Rosie jogged Frank's thoughts. Maybe he had been too demanding and turned into a burden for his kids. The next day, after getting his boarding pass, Frank handed Rosie a letter. Each one meant something special to each of his kids. The dad who had worried about his kids for decades felt his age creeping in. With the meds running low, he had to take the risky flight home. On the flight, a sudden thunderstorm hit. Meds were low, the turbulence was wild, and Frank collapsed in the restroom from a long flare-up. During this time, Frank dreamt of his kids as they once were, gathered around a dinner table, except his late wife was mysteriously absent. Frank was completely puzzled as to why the children would choose to keep things from him. When he caught sight of his eldest daughter Amy, he realized that her brother-in-law was still wearing the same shirt as the day before. On the following day, Robert said he'd perform in Europe, but streets were full of concert posters clearly avoiding him. Even the sweet little Rosie was keeping secrets from him. Subtitles. Actually, Frank had known all along that the child the neighbor was taking care of was his own granddaughter. He said to the neighbor, "I'll tell you the truth, but Mom is sick." I don't want to embarrass myself. When Frank asked about his worried eldest son, David was mute in the dream. Just as he tried to probe into the mystery, rain poured down, and the kids hastily scrambled back inside. When Frank emerged from the dream, his 3 kids surrounded his hospital bed, but David was nowhere to be found. After his relentless questioning, Amy finally revealed the uncomfortable truth. David was gone. No, this can't be happening. No, this can't be true. What happened? Why did he leave? We knew he was traveling, then we got these notifications. Messages came in from Mexico. Needless to say, we were shocked. We didn't want to tell you because we weren't sure. He was struggling with many issues and was quite unstable. He was really down during Mum's illness. We were all worried about him, yes, just as we were all in uncertain circumstances. It could have been a misunderstanding, or perhaps just a mistake. No, we're all apologizing, but you can't just leave us hanging here. No, this one is my son. That one is not my son. No, it's a misunderstanding. I can't be my son. They claimed it was a mistake. No, that can't be my son. That's not my son, absolutely not way. Pandara quarta o kiti mat absolutely o handle PPL paragraph o quarta offer o amount micro yen DC not signs to data plus or minus Chinese let. In the hospital bed, Frank suddenly saw his son David again. David gently apologized to his dad. It's not your fault. I've been pondering what I wanted to do as I grew up, and honestly, you shaped my path. I'm still an artist, still a painter, doing regular jobs. I just want to make you proud. Really? Well, really. Alright, I'm going to tell Mom. Promise I won't let you down.